Welcome to the deep dive. You know, in tech, especially programming, it feels like you're always trying to keep up, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Things move so fast. Languages update, new frameworks pop up.
Right, and you're constantly looking for ways to be, well, sharper, more efficient,
Yeah.
smarter in your code.
Finding those little wins, yeah, the shortcuts.
Exactly. But not just time savers, right? More like ways to write cleaner, better code.
That's the goal. Elegance and robustness.
That's exactly what we're going to unpack today. We found this great resource, Danian's article, 40 JavaScript shortcuts every developer should know in 2025.
Ah, the one on DEV community. Good stuff.
Yeah, that's the one. And we're looking not just at the article, but also the comments section, which was pretty lively.
Mm-hmm. Often where the really interesting debates happen.
So our mission today isn't just to, list these 40 shortcuts.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
We want to dig deeper. How do they actually make your code faster, cleaner, boost your productivity?
But also the nuances, right? The tricky parts.
Exactly. The pitfalls, the debates around when you should or maybe shouldn't use them. We want you to walk away not just knowing them, but thinking critically about applying them.
Okay, let's get into it. First up, syntax shortcuts and essentials. These are the ones that sometimes feel like little magic tricks.
Yeah, they can seem that way, but fundamentally, they're about structuring your code better. Fewer lines, maybe, but really clearer intent.
Like the ternary operator, instead of a whole if-else block.
Right, for simple conditions.
You just write const adult age is 18, yes
Yeah.
or no. Boom. Compact.
Very compact and often very readable if the condition is simple.
Ah, okay. So caveat there.
Definitely. If you start nesting ternaries, it gets messy fast. Stick to simple assignments or returns.
Gotcha. Then there are arrow functions.
Yeah.
Const add, a b, a plus b. Super concise.
Super concise, yeah. Especially for those quick one-liner functions. But the big win with arrow functions is often how they handle this.
Right, they don't have their, this binding, they inherit it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which solves a whole class of problems, especially with callbacks, event handlers, asynchronous stuff. It pushes you towards that more functional style.
Okay, and one I personally love for clarity is destructuring.
Oh, yeah. Destructuring is fantastic.
Pulling values out of objects like const name, age, person, or arrays like const first, second, colors. It just feels cleaner.
It really does. It makes the code more declarative.
Okay.
You state exactly what you need right at the top. Less repetition of person.name, person.age,
Easier to see what's being used from that structure.
And less prone to typos when accessing properties, too.
Okay, now dealing with potentially missing data. Optional chaining. The question mark syntax, user.address.street.
Lifesaver. Absolute lifesaver.
I mean, the hours spent debugging type error. Cannot read property street of undefined.
We've all been there. Before this, you had those awkward chains of user and user.address and user.address.street.
So much boilerplate.
Yeah, optional chaining just cleans that right up. Safe access to nested properties. Huge win for defensive coding.
And its close relative, nullish coalescing, the double question mark. Input name, anonymous.
Right, for providing default values.
But it's different from the logical OR, isn't it? That's the key thing.
Crucially different. The OR operator falls back if the value is any falsy value.
Like 0 or an empty string.
Exactly. And sometimes 0 or an empty string is a perfectly valid input you don't want to overwrite. Nullish coalescing only provides the default if the value is strictly null or undefined.
Much more precise control then.
Much more. Avoids those subtle bugs where a valid 0 gets replaced by a default.
Okay, moving on. This is where, for me, it starts getting really interesting. Logic, loops, arrays, handling data more efficiently.
Yeah, this is where you see a bigger shift towards that functional, expressive style we mentioned. Less about how step-by-step, more about what transformation you want.
Like short-circuit evaluation. Using an $, so is logged in and welcome.
Right. If is logged in is false, the welcome part just never happens, never evaluated.
Where do you see that used most?
Oh, all over the place in UI code. Conditional rendering is a big one. Is admin and admin panel. Only show the panel if they're an admin.
Makes sense. Or default assignments too.
Yeah, like const settings, user prefs, default prefs. It's a compact, do this only if that's true.
Okay, now the big three for arrays. Map, filter, and reduce.
Ah, the holy trinity. These really change how you work with lists of data.
I remember when these clicked for me. Suddenly all those clunky for loops just disappeared from many tasks.
Exactly. They encourage immutability. You're usually creating new arrays, not modifying the original.
So map, like nums.map, nn, transforms every item.
Right. Gives you a new array of the results. squaring numbers, extracting a property, whatever.
Filter, nums.filter nn port6 at 2 equals 0, 0. Creates a new array with only the items that pass the test.
Yep. Getting just the even numbers or active users or whatever condition you need.
And a reduce, nums.reduce a, b plus b 0. That's the one for boiling an array down to a single value.
Precisely. Summing numbers is the classic example, but it's incredibly versatile. You can count things, group things, even build objects or new arrays with it. Replaces a whole category of loops.
And speaking of loops, the for of loop, cleaner way to iterate.
Yeah, much cleaner for just getting the values out of an iterable.
Iterable meaning arrays, strings.
Arrays, strings, maps, sets, nodalists from the DOM, anything designed to be looped over like that.
So when would you pick for about over, say, for each?
For about of is great when you just need the values and maybe need to break or continue the loop, which for each doesn't let you do.
Ah.
For each is an array method, so it only works on arrays, and you can't break out early. For .of is more general purpose for iteration over values. Traditional for loops still have their place if you need fine-grained index control, like going backwards.
But for most common cases, for is nicer to read.
Generally, yes. Clearer intent.
Okay, let's shift to some utilities for objects and arrays. These feel like built-in helpers for common jobs.
They are. And using the built-in stuff is usually better. It's optimized, standardized, and means less custom code you have to write and maintain.
Like the set for unique values trick. .new set array. To deduplicate an array.
That's a classic aha moment for a lot of developers. So elegant.
It just leverages the fact that set inherently only stores unique values. Any performance watchouts with huge arrays?
Generally, no. Set operations are typically very fast, often O1 or OM at worst for creation. For deduplicating, it's usually the most efficient way in JavaScript.
Good to know. And then for working with objects dynamically, object.keys, object.values, object.entries.
Invaluable. Essential when you don't know the exact keys beforehand or you need to iterate over the object's contents.
So object.keys gives you an array of the property names.
Yep. Object.values gives you an array of the values.
And object.entries gives you
an array of key-value pairs. Super useful if you need both the key and the value during iteration, maybe to transform the object into something else.
You really see the power when you combine these, especially the array methods, like with chaining array method.
Oh, absolutely.
Something like data.filter, a equal a.active.map, a equals a.name. Filter first, then map. All in one line.
It creates this beautiful, readable pipeline. Filter the active items, then from those extract just the names. Each step flows into the next. Much clearer than nested loops and temporary variables.
It really does make complex transformations feel manageable.
And encourages thinking in terms of data flow.
Okay, one more utility, maybe a bit overlooked. Entail number format.
Ah, yes, the internationalization APIs. Powerful stuff.
So new Entail number format, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, handles formatting numbers for different languages and regions.
Exactly. It knows about locale-specific decimal separators, grouping separators, currency symbols, things that are a real headache to handle manually.
I bet people try, though. Lots of messy if statements.
Oh, for sure. Trying to guess based on locale strings, hard-coding symbols, it quickly becomes brittle and error-prone. Intel uses the standardized CLDR data built into the browser or environment. Let the platform handle that complexity.
Smart. Use the tools you're given.
Definitely.
All right, final category. Modern tricks and utilities. More advanced stuff. Patterns for today's JS.
Yeah, these often tackle bigger challenges, things like asynchronicity, state management, performance optimization.
And async await has to be top of that list for asynchronous code.
Absolutely transformed it, made it readable again.
Compared to callback hell or even complex chains?
Exactly. Async await makes asynchronous operations look synchronous, even though they're not blocking. It follows a linear, understandable flow.
So much easier to reason about.
Yeah.
And paired with promise.all.
Right. Promise.all is key for efficiency when you have multiple promises, like maybe several API calls that can run in parallel.
So you don't have to wait for one to finish before starting the next.
Precisely. You fire them all off, and promise.all waits for all of them to complete. Oh, wait. Promise.all fetch user. Fetch settings. Much faster than doing them sequentially if they don't depend on each other.
Makes a big difference to load times. Okay, a fun one. Short array swap.
Ah, the little destructuring trick.
AB, it is BA. Swaps two variables, no temporary variable needed.
Elegant, isn't it? Just a neat application of array destructuring.
Very neat. Now, cloning objects. A common way is the spread syntax. Const copy?
Yes,
Remember
very common. Quick and easy for simple objects,
that?
but
Here comes the new ones. I saw this in the comments too. Yer, even, or pointed it out.
exactly. It's a shallow clone. This is super important to understand,
Shallow meaning.
meaning it only copies the top-level properties. If your original object has other objects or arrays nested inside it, the copy doesn't get new independent copies of those nested structures.
So the nested parts are still pointing to the same thing in memory.
Correct. They're shared references. So if you modify a nested object inside your copy, you're also modifying it inside the original, which is usually not what you want.
Ouch. That can lead to tricky bugs. So what's the solution for a real copy?
For a true deep clone, where everything, including nested structures, is duplicated independently, you need something else. Clint Hiles mentions structured clone in the comments.
Okay, structured clone, a built-in function.
Yes, relatively new but widely supported now. Const deep copy, structured clone, original. That handles most complex cases, including nested objects, arrays, dates, maps, sets. It's the modern standard for deep cloning.
Vital distinction then. Spread for shallow, structured clone for deep.
Absolutely critical.
Okay, last one on the list. The debounce function. This is more of a pattern, right? A utility you build.
Debounce delay. It's a higher order function that takes your function and a delay.
And ensures your function only runs after a certain period of inactivity.
Exactly. It limits the rate at which a function gets called.
Where is this indispensable?
Think UI interactions. A search input that fetches suggestions as you type. You don't want an API call on every single keystroke.
Right, that would be chaos. And expensive.
Totally. So you debounce the fetch function. It only fires, say, 300 meters after the user stops typing. Or handling window resize events recalculate layout only after the user finishes resizing, not constantly during the drag.
Performance optimization and preventing unnecessary work.
Crucial for smooth user experiences and efficient resource use.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground. But the article comments really brought out some interesting debates, didn't they? It shows even shortcuts aren't always clear-cut.
That's often where the most valuable learning happens. Seeing experienced developers discuss the trade-offs, it forces you to think more critically.
Like the discussion around default parameters versus object destructuring for function arguments.
Right. Hamza Sadiq suggested using an object for parameters, like function greet, name, guest.
His point was it avoids issues if you forget an argument or get the order wrong with traditional defaults.
Yeah, makes arguments self-documenting with names, and order doesn't matter. Seems sensible.
But then Benoit Chix pushed back quite strongly. No, it's not always a good practice.
He had some good counterpoints. Poor auto-completion in code editors sometimes.
Okay. The tooling aspect.
Readability can suffer for very simple functions with just one or two parameters. The object adds boilerplate. And his big point was the risk of silent, undefined issues.
How so?
If you destructure non-existent prop from the past object, JavaScript doesn't complain. Non-existent prop just becomes undefined. With traditional parameters, forgetting one often causes a more obvious error or undefined value right away.
Subtle bugs potentially harder to track down.
Possibly. Benoit argued the object pattern is more useful for functions with, say, 3 or more parameters, where the self-documenting nature really helps. For simple cases, traditional defaults might be clearer.
So again, context matters. No single best way. It depends on the complexity readability needs.
Exactly. It's about choosing the right tool for the specific job, considering clarity and potential pitfalls.
Then there was that whole old news versus making JavaScript easier discussion.
Yeah, the Minion Army comment. Basically, why are we still writing about features that are years old?
Which, from the perspective of someone using this stuff daily for years, I can kind of see the point.
Sure. But Danian's response was simple and, I thought, quite perfect.
To make JavaScript easier.
Yep. Because for someone new to JavaScript, or someone coming back after a break, or maybe someone who just hasn't encountered these specific patterns yet, these aren't old news.
They're essential modern practices they need to learn.
Precisely. The value isn't always in novelty. It's in curation, clear explanation, and providing that foundation. It's about accessibility for everyone learning and growing.
So bringing it all together, hopefully you've gotten more than just a list of 40 things today.
The goal was a deeper understanding. Why these shortcuts matter, how they work, but also how to think about applying them intelligently.
Looking at the benefits, but also the trade-offs and the context.
Right, because these patterns, these shortcuts, they're really invitations to think a bit differently about your code. Maybe embrace more functional ideas, leverage the built-in power of the language more effectively.
The real shortcut isn't just writing less code.
It's writing smarter code, code that's easier to maintain, performs better, is more robust.
So the final thought we want to leave you with is this. Looking at your own projects, your current work, which of these shortcuts could offer an immediate benefit?
And perhaps more importantly, which ones spark that thought of, I need to dig into the trade-offs here. When is the simple way better? When is the shortcut actually the smarter path? That critical evaluation is key.
We really encourage you to take these ideas, play with them, experiment, and embark on your own deep dive into making your JavaScript even better. Thanks for joining us.